future or past is spared this wanton destruction. We've seen the Israeli military decimating cemeteries. Each of these individuals has an avid climate researcher who had plans to write his PhD. Khalil rejected the psychic blueprints of dispossession and segregation that the occupation imposes. And the human family will not again know war. For all those who on earth shall realize, we have not come into being to hate or to destroy. We have come into being to praise, to neighbour and to love.
Of Jesus this year. Instead, they have constructed a tableau in front of the Church of the Nativity. It is a traditional manger scene, but one with a difference, because this is a depiction of the manger in a war zone. This is Christ amongst the rubble. The minister of the church there in Bethlehem, a church where I have worshipped and ministered, gave a sermon yesterday. His name is the Reverend Dr. Munther Isaac, and I'd like to share just a few sentences from yesterday's sermon for you now, as he reflects on what it is to be a person of faith at Christmas in Palestine in 2023. He says, "We are outraged by the complicity of the church. Silence is complicity. Gaza has become the moral compass of the world." He goes on, "In our pain, anguish and lament, we have searched for God and we have found him under the rubble in Gaza." And in this Christmas season, as we search for Jesus, if Jesus were to be born today, he would be born under the rubble in Gaza. Jesus is under the rubble. He is at home with the marginalised, the suffering, the oppressed and the displaced. This is his manger. This is God with us. We look and see him in every child pulled from under the rubble. So says Munther Isaac of the Lutheran Christmas Church in Bethlehem.
A bridge, my friends, you do not walk alone. We will walk with you and sing your spirit's home.
You would see how we swallow our pride and we bear it. Despite being called savage monsters, barbaric, you'd be as disgusted as we are to see our characters slain by the racists who lead. If you knew us, you'd see through the sinister libel. Your stomach would turn at the headlines and titles. Your blood would turn cold at the calloused press briefings. You would notice the way they deny us our grievings. Surely you too would be led to insanity, watching them strip us of all our humanity. If only you knew a Palestinian. You'd see our faces while scrolling the screen. You hear our voice in the innocent screams. Martez, Bisan, Plestia too. They could be us if only you knew. You'd see your friend under rubble and dust. You'd feel the same sorrow as if it were us. If you knew us, I know that you wouldn't be fine. Watching 20,000 plus killed in Palestine, you would mourn as we do for family back home. You would know how we feel, how we wail and we moan. It wouldn't surprise you, our depth of dismay. You would know how a piece of us dies every day. If you knew a Palestinian, you would know that we haven't been able to sleep. How for 45 days, 72 days, we have laid down to weep. We retire to bed, waiting anxious to dream, while our minds race to our sweet Palestine.
And every one of you for coming out on this cold, rainy, windy day, typical English weather. We are a movement because of each and every one of us. I know it can be tiring and repetitive to keep turning up for this cause, but we must continue. Please keep the momentum going. We must use our privilege to act for those who are having their voices taken away from them. Thank you so much to you all.
I'd like to end off one more thing. We are health workers for Palestine, but really we're also health workers for peace. And we also have Aaron here, who's from Narmod. So if you want to know about our events, please follow Narmod, and please also follow Health Workers for Palestine. We are planning to hold further events until our government hears our collective pleas for immediate and permanent, long-lasting ceasefire, protection of innocent civilians and healthcare workers, frontline workers. This includes journalists, teachers, schools, hospitals, all the innocent civilians. I would like to also recognise the fact that there was 4 Israeli healthcare workers that died on October the 7th. This is not okay. And I want our government to also recognise that we need unfettered medical supplies and aids to go into Palestine. And we need an end to the 17-year siege and occupation. If there is one thing that we can do as humans, I echo this again, this is it. This is our moment. It's decisive. We have to act now. Thank you.
My name's Monet. I'm a paediatric nurse and this is Sefta physiotherapist. We are part of a coalition called Health Workers for Palestine, and we have held a multi-faith vigil today in solidarity with health workers in Gaza, Palestine, to commemorate and remember those lives lost from all backgrounds, because nobody is safe and we acknowledge that. So we thought for everybody from different religious backgrounds, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, to come together and share our respects, our condolences to those who are currently suffering, as the massacre that's going on in Palestine doesn't seem to be slowing down.
As a human being, you know, and as a healthcare worker, I cannot imagine what my colleagues must be going through right now. And actually it's almost 3 months. It's going to be 12 weeks soon on January the 7th that this has been happening. And we also understand that it's Christmas Eve, and you know, Christmas has been cancelled in Bethlehem. And this is because the bombing is intense and it's not stopping, and what we're hearing from the ground is our colleagues want this to stop, and this is the little that we can do with the power that we have to try and raise up our voices for our governments to hear our collective pleas. But I think the most important part of this vigil was for everybody of all faiths, and even if you don't have a faith, to come together to collectively find a way for us to grieve together, heal together, and for our government to hear our cries when we say this must stop now. So we are a coalition of healthcare workers for Palestine, and in actual fact Dr. Omar Abdul-Manan, Dr. Rahaf and Dr. Mo were the original founders of Health Workers for Palestine, and this stemmed from Gaza Medic Voices. The original vigil started on the 10th of November outside Downing Street, where Jeremy Corbyn and Dr. Tanya Haj Hassan and many other healthcare workers collected together to try and get Rishi Sunak, our Prime Minister, to hear the collective pleas for this to stop. And since then we've held vigils all across the world and everywhere in the UK. All of our details are on our Instagram handle called Health Workers, the number 4 for Palestine. And since then the community has grown, and many people have been supporting us with their solidarity and standing together. to try and fight to end this suffering and the massacre that's currently happening and unfolding in front of us.